Blockchain looks to have great potential for both businesses and telcos around the world. But there are challenges for telcos along the way, and today at Carriers World in London, I'm joined by Federico Homberg of Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. Federico, thanks for joining us. Tell us first of all about the potential for blockchain for businesses.
Yeah. Happy to do so. First of all, Brian, thank you for having me. Delighted to be here. And thank you for asking me those really very relevant questions, because blockchain is kind of a hype, or was kind of a hype. It's a big thing in the industry. And why this is the case is because the industry that we work on is highly manual, it's highly inefficient. So we create call data records, the other party creates call data records, we exchange them, there are mistakes in there, prices are wrong, volumes are wrong, and there's a lot of manual work involved. And blockchain is ultimately a technology that can get us rid of those mistakes on the one side, and increase the way how we can automate and increase the automation of the business. I don't want manual work to be involved here. We need to fully, have an end-to-end automation of the business, ideally. But we're not there yet.
But with when you talk about business, there's the business environment, but also the business in terms of the telco industry. So it's an enormous potential for the telco industry, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. We are a telecom global carrier. We work with other carriers worldwide. And so we have relations with all the other carriers. And if you picture this kind of spaghetti kind of thing, everybody having relations with the other one. And there is call data records going from one to the other. And this is a whole mess. And it's really complex to settle all that and to keep track of everything. And you cannot do that, with the amount of manual work right now, considering that we're going to have more services to come. For example, in roaming, it's very simple right now. We only have voice, data, SMS right now. This is basically what we settle. It's very simple. However, we're going to get now narrowband IoT, another service, LTE-M, another service. We're going to talk about VoLTE, so voice over LTE, ViLTE, video over LTE, and other quality-based services. So the world in which we're operating is going to become much more complex. So in order to solve this, without having to build, additional manpower, due to the manual work involved right now, we will have to automate as far as we can, so there is no other way.
So this is probably the biggest challenge for the industry within the telco sector.
I don't want to say it's the biggest challenge of the industry. There are other challenges as well. But I'd like to automate as far as possible by potentially using blockchain to ideally focus on other things that are more important. For example, on the top line, so on the revenue side. Because here, what we're doing now with blockchain is largely a bottom line effect. So efficiency game and so on, and things have to run smoothly. If we have automated that, then we can focus on the revenue generating part, more than we can now. Or we can focus on collecting money. So this is what our CFO at least would like to do.
Absolutely, I'm sure he would. What do you think can be done to make it happen faster?
The challenge right now with blockchain, so first of all, blockchain works. So there are a couple of proof of concepts out there. We are doing proof of concepts out there, and we've come to the conclusion that the technology works. It depends on how you do it. But the technical blockchain is only a fraction of the whole blockchain world. So the technology works, as I said, but there's things like legal. There's things like governance, one of the big issues, because who is gonna, if there's a blockchain network, who is gonna admit somebody or kick somebody out of the network? Who is gonna do that? Who has the power to do so? So these are some questions that need to be resolved. And these questions are way more complex actually than the technology itself. So there are a couple of obstacles. Another one is right now, at least, the missing interoperability between different blockchain protocols, I would say. Like, most people know Ethereum, Hyperledger, R3, so these are different protocols, and right now they cannot speak with each other. So, and this is a problem. Why? Because not every carrier is going to use the same blockchain vendor in the end. So if blockchain vendor A uses Ethereum and blockchain vendor B uses Hyperledger, so how do then these two companies settle what they have to settle? So we need interoperability also for strategic reasons, because I do not want to be tied to a certain vendor. You know, if I'm not satisfied with vendor A, I want to have the freedom and the ability to move to vendor B. So we need to have a certain level of interoperability. And this is when I think, this is one of the key elements, by the way, because only then operators will start engaging and rolling out blockchain nodes, because then what you do, reduce the risk for them that they are stuck with a certain vendor. And this is one of the key elements.
But at least interoperability is something we're used to in the telecom sector, isn't it? So are you confident that we'll get there?
Absolutely. So what I'm seeing now in the industry on the Hyperledger side, for example, to stay a bit technical, this is not, you know, the interoperability problem is not something that is new. And most carriers know this is a problem. The blockchain companies out there know this is a problem, because if they can create interoperability, they help themselves. Yeah. So this is why everybody has an interest in getting an interoperable service. Yeah. So this is why I'm confident that this is going to be overcome. In addition to that, and this is one of the lights at the end of the tunnel, there's the Global Leaders Forum, for example. And you've probably followed the press. They did a press announcement at the ITW this year in June, with the idea that they will found a so-called CBN, Carrier Blockchain Network. And what they want to do is, or the goal is, to have an interoperable blockchain network for carriers to settle what they have to settle, for voice, for data on demand, for roaming. And there are, you know, like 14 vendors involved right now. We are creating the system architecture both based on certain requirements for those voice, data on demand, and roaming work streams. And this is going to be the first time that we have an interoperability between different vendors. So, and this is what makes me very confident that we are going to get there.
So it's an exciting time, isn't it, for blockchain? This could really be, we're on the cusp of possibly making this really happen.
It's extremely exciting, and I compare this with the car industry, more or less, where right now in the car industry, if you need to invest money, the question is, where do you place your bet? On diesel engines, on plug-in engines, or, you know, fully electrical engines, on fuel cell? What do you do? The answer is, there is not a clear answer. And you have to play on every field and figure out, you know, when is the right point in time then to do a left or right turn. But right now, you know, we're going straight. We do what we can do. Also, as an industry, yeah, there's a lot of industry alignment going on, because what I'm saying is not a DT problem. It's an industry problem. So we are highly inefficient, and everybody knows that. And we need to do something about this, and this is our chance here.
Okay, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much for having me here.